Okay, picture this. The sun is dipping below the tree line, the wind is really starting to pick up, and you look around only to realize you are miles from the trailhead and there's absolutely zero sign of a tent in your pack. Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving into a scenario that literally flips survival from a fun weekend hobby into an absolute pressing necessity. We're going to walk through the ultimate survival timeline for making it through the night in the wild.
So, let me ask you something directly. What is the second worst feeling in the world? Give up? It's that icy, undeniable chill that washes over you the exact second you realize you are completely, helplessly lost. The familiar landmarks? Gone. The trail? Vanished. And panic? Yeah, it's definitely starting to knock at the front door.
But hey, this is exactly where we take a deep breath. Getting out of this requires a solid roadmap, and here's ours. First, we'll lock down the survival mindset. Second, choosing a shelter site. Third, building that wilderness shelter. And finally, signaling for rescue. Stick to this plan, and it's exactly what's going to get you out of danger.
All right, Section 1, the survival mindset. Stop and think. This is the very first critical hurdle in our scenario. It's that immediate, crucial psychological shift you have to make right when you realize you're stranded.
Your brain is going to want to just rush and scramble, right? We have to override that, and to do it, we lean on the STOP acronym. Stop, think, observe, and plan. But here's the kicker. We actually add sit to that first step. Literally physically sitting down is an absolute game changer for vanquishing panic. Actually, survival experts often say the very first thing you should do is make a cup of tea or coffee if you have the gear. Sounds totally crazy, I know, but focusing on a simple, methodical task forces your brain to calm down, evaluate your gear, and just stay frosty before you make any sudden moves.
Okay, so once you're calm, it's time to prioritize. And the rule of threes is your absolute gold standard here. Check this out. You can live 3 minutes without oxygenated blood, 3 hours without shelter in a harsh environment, 3 days without water, and 3 weeks without food. Laying it out like this proves one massive point. Beginners almost always want to jump straight to building a snare or hunting for food. But look at those limits. Building a shelter to protect yourself from the elements is way more urgent.
And while we're on the topic of priorities, you absolutely have to remember this quote. Conserve sweat, not water. Seriously, if you have water on you, drink it in small, steady amounts. Hoarding your water while you're literally sweating through your clothes? Terrible idea. Even mild dehydration absolutely wrecks your decision-making abilities. So drink your water and just limit your physical exertion so you aren't sweating in the first place.
Moving right along to Section 2, choosing a shelter site. Location is everything. Fast forwarding the timeline a bit, you're calm, you're hydrated, and you know you need shelter because, well, it's getting cold. Let's find a spot. Before you start just randomly piling sticks together in the dark, you have to remember the 5 W's of site selection. First up, wood. You want a ton of natural debris nearby, so you aren't wasting precious energy hauling it. Second is water. You want it close, but not so close that cold air sinks right onto you, or worse, a creek floods your bed. Third, weather. Always put your back to the wind. Fourth is widowmakers. Look up. You want to avoid any dead hanging branches that could crush you in a storm. And lastly, wigglies. Yeah, nobody wants to share a bed with an anthill or wake up on a game trail face to face with a bear. Just avoid them.
All right, Section 3, building wilderness shelters, trapping body heat. You've secured the perfect real estate, so let's get building.
Now, your goal here isn't to build a 5-star resort. You are trying to create a tiny microclimate that traps your body heat. To do that, you got to know your enemy, which means understanding the 3 thermodynamic threats of heat loss. First is radiation, which is just heat leaving your body into the air. Then there's convection. That's the wind actively stripping the heat right off your skin. And finally, conduction. This is a big one. It's the cold ground literally sucking the warmth right out of your spine. The shelter we're going to build counters all 3 of these by using thick walls, super small interior spaces, and deep bedding. So let's walk through the ultimate natural setup, the debris hut. Step 1, find a sturdy ridgepole, something about 1.5 times your height. Step 2, the A-frame. You prop that ridgepole up just high enough so you can slide under. Step 3 is ribbing, where you lean branches against it to form this sort of narrow coffin shape. And listen, a massive mistake people make here is building the inside way too big. If you can sit up easily, you're just wasting your own body heat warming up empty air. Okay, step 4, lathing. You add a mesh of smaller sticks. Step 5, insulation. You're going to pile on a crazy amount, like 2 to 3 feet of dry leaves or pine needles. And step 6, the bedding. Stuff at least 12 inches of debris inside to lie on. That bedding is literally what stops the cold ground from killing you via conduction.
But what if everything is frozen solid and buried in deep snow? Well, check out the contrast between these two winter setups. On the left, you've got the igloo. It's an absolute engineering masterpiece for sure, but it requires really specific snow conditions and some serious carving skills. On the right, though, is the quinzhee. This is a total game changer because it's so much simpler. You just pile up your backpacks and gear, bury it in whatever snow you can find, pack it all down, and then stick a bunch of 12-inch guide twigs all over the dome. Then you just tunnel inside, pull your gear out, and hollow out the interior until you hit the ends of those twigs. That guarantees a perfectly uniform, heat-trapping wall every single time.
Which brings us to Section 4, signaling for rescue, getting out alive. The sun is up. You survived the night, great job. But now the priority changes completely.
You don't just need to stay warm anymore. You need to get home. And to get rescued, you absolutely have to be seen. Enter the triangle of fires. This is a universally recognized distress signal. If you have the space and the fuel, you set up 3 fires in a big triangle in a nice clear area. During the daylight, you toss green foliage or pine branches right onto the flames. That creates this thick, billowing white smoke that search helicopters can spot from miles away. It's highly effective.
But what if you can't stay put? Maybe you need to go find water. If you absolutely have to move, you can't just vanish into the woods. You have to leave physical tracking signs. Lay out some large sticks or rocks in the shape of arrows on the ground. It's a simple thing, but it points search and rescue teams exactly toward where you're heading. You also really need an audible signal. Let me tell you, yelling is going to shred your vocal cords in just a few hours. And honestly, human voices just do not carry well through dense trees. Crafting something you can blow into, like carving a simple whistle out of an elder branch with your pocket knife, can literally save your life. A high-pitched whistle will pierce through all that ambient forest noise infinitely better than your voice ever could. So the big takeaway for signaling is burning the universal SOS Morse code pattern into your brain. 3 short dots, 3 long dashes, 3 short dots. You can blast that pattern on your brand new whistle, or if it's nighttime, you can signal it visually with your flashlight. 3 short bursts, 3 long bursts, 3 short bursts. Anyone out there looking for you is going to recognize that instantly.
Well, we've covered the mindset, picking a site, the physics of your shelter, and how to signal for help. But I want to leave you with one final, kind of provocative thought. Are your skills actually sharp enough to survive the night right now? Knowing the theory is awesome, but survival is 100% practical. I really challenge you to head out to a local, safe wooded area this weekend and try building a debris hut. Just see how long it actually takes to gather 3 feet of insulation before an emergency strikes. Because when that sun drops and the wind starts howling, you will be so glad you did. Thanks for hanging out with me for this explainer. Stay safe, stay prepared, and as always, keep learning.